G'day, it's Mark here again. Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about a car that I bought a few years ago now, but I've still got it in the collection. It's a beautiful, very low mileage, all original 1970 Ford Torino Brougham. I've always really liked the look of these cars. There's a fantastic Ford, I think it's an annual report for 1970, and it's got a 1970 Ford Torino Brougham next to a Mercury Montego MX Brougham, which is another really super rare car. And I've actually got a Mercury Montego MX Brougham 302 V8, very, very rare car. I've never ever seen another one with concealed headlights for sale in all the years I've been collecting cars. I will do a video on that at one stage, but that is a particularly nice car, very dark green. I bought that a long time ago now, probably 20 years ago. But this video is about my 1970 Torino Brougham four-door. And I bought the car in Kentucky, and I had a bit of a challenge because I had to fly over to Kentucky, drive the car from Kentucky to San Francisco in about a week, and then fly back out again. So it was a really quick trip, and I couldn't really afford for anything to go wrong. So what I did was, when I bought the car, I was talking to the seller. I just said, look, do the wheel bearings, change the oil, the fluids, all that sort of stuff. I bought hoses, I bought a spare radiator. I had all these parts that I had shipped to his place. So when I picked the car up, I thought if anything happens, I've got most of the parts I need just in case. He did tell me he did the wheel bearings, but as it transpired, he didn't. So anyway, my mate David came along with me, and David's got quite a few of his cars on the channel. You would have seen his Fairlane, his Chrysler New Yorker, and others. But anyway, we flew in to Kentucky. The guy picked us up from the hotel, drove us back to his place, picked up the Torino Brougham. Looked fantastic. It was everything I expected. Condition-wise, visually, it looked really, really good. Beautiful brocade interior, green, with a vinyl roof. Above all, one of my main criteria was concealed headlights. I didn't want one without the concealed lights. I think the Brougham was standard with that feature. So, bought the car. We headed off on our way with all our stuff packed in there, including our parts. And we didn't get too far. We got as far as Bowling Green, still in Kentucky, and the wheel bearings, they obviously hadn't been lubricated, or they were worn, and heard a terrible noise in the front end, and so we were stuck in Bowling Green, which was pretty annoying and disappointing given we had a really tough schedule. So right near the Corvette factory, actually, which I'd visited a couple of times before. We didn't have time to visit the Corvette factory this time. We basically had to get some parts, and we got a mobile mechanic. This really good guy came out and worked, well into the night over a couple of days. Pulled the hubs, got the wheel bearings replaced. They'd been almost welded onto the housing there. In fact, the guy that sold me the car, I think he felt bad, so he drove a couple 100 miles, sort of round trip. And luckily he had a axle stub for us that he got off a car that had very low mileage, and we were able to swap that over because it wasn't looking good at all for us. Then we had to really make up some serious distance between, Bowling Green and getting the car back to the shipper in San Francisco before our flight, which was booked to get back to Australia. So, big day. So luckily, David and I, gluttons for punishment, we are very happy to do mega mileage, 800,000 miles a day if needed. So we set out on our way in the Torino, and the car went really, really well, through a variety of different conditions. And everything was going well until it started running a little bit rough. It was at night time, and we were in Albuquerque, and it just started running rough. I thought, the points or something like that, something's wrong. So we literally drove up over an overpass, nearly collected a truck on the way through, which would have been curtains for us, and nursed the car back to a hotel car park in Albuquerque. And then I got a mobile mechanic to come along and and sort that out for us. I think the points that had been used were sort of cheap points from, I won't go into where they were from, but anyway, we got some American-made ones and had that refitted and just set the timing again on the engine. The car was fine after that, but then again, we'd lost, another day at least of traveling. So we did some mega miles, driving to like all day till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then sort of getting up early the next day and then doing other big legs of the trip. But luckily, David and I, as I said, we're gluttons for punishment, and the Torino started then running really, really well. And we went through, at one stage, I remember, we were trying to avoid snow and everything, but we went through, I think it was Texas. There was sort of snow drifts, and even trying to get out of the car. There's a photo here of, when we were filling up at nighttime, and it was all icy on the around the service station. We were trying to fill up the car with fuel, and obviously I was concerned about, slipping off the road, and I was worried about deers at night jumping in front of the car, ruining that very expensive concealed headlight front end. The car's a 351 V8, I should have mentioned that earlier, but it had four-wheel non-power assisted drum brakes, even though it was a Brougham, didn't have disc brakes. I thought it was a bit odd, but that's just how they came standard. And the car was fine. Like we went through snow drifts that were literally, where they'd ploughed through the road. There was drifts around 10, 12 feet high on either side of us. It was like amazing. And we just kept powering through. We had to do a bit of a detour around Denver, Colorado, because there'd been a massive snowstorm. So I had to make another detour. That was more distance, more mileage, and the clock was ticking away all the time. So the pressure was definitely on. But as I said, we just kept doing the bigger, mega mileage. Finally, we drove through the desert. It was Nevada into California. A bit of relief definitely came over me once we hit California. And then we went and saw a mate of David's, Leon, caught up with him just for the day. And then we were back on schedule by then, even with some mega mileage and mega driving, we were back on schedule. And then we drove up to San Francisco. That was a pretty nice leisurely drive. Dropped the car off at the shipper and then shipped it back. And so, yeah, it's a fantastic car. Love the car. Just the styling. I like the fact, I know if you look at a Torino, generally everyone's after the fastback coupe. Of course, that's the most collectible one. And, I'd love one of those too. And I like those. But I really did like the Brougham four-door, and the fact that I've got the matching MX Montego Brougham as well. That's only a 302, as I mentioned, green, darker green with a black roof and a brocade interior. So I've got the matching pair, as it were. And then also to go along with that, I've got a 70 Cyclone GT 429 Copper Jet. So I'm a big fan of 1969-70 American cars. I think that's probably the peak year for styling. So anyway, we got the car back, and the journey was a success, albeit a little stressful at times. So anyway, that's a bit of a story on the Ford Torino road trip across the States in a week. And thanks very much for watching. Please, give the episode a thumbs up. Please, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I always respond to everyone's comments, so I really appreciate your comments. So I'll see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.